Chapter 5. Thanks for coming back to hear Chapter 5. Please check out the previous ones if you hadn't. This is definitely stuff that is hard to read, and I know it's hard to hear, but I think it's important. We're going on to Chapter 5. This is titled The Restless Dead. First story to mention here is a man named Carl Jung. In September of 1977, he went missing. Now, his family was looking for him. They were talking to the police. Supposedly, the police were doing the normal things of checking morgues, checking hospitals for a man fitting his description. Turns out none of that was ever really done. 2 months later, his body was found on an anatomy table at Howard University. And how did it end up there? Now, apparently, the man had been inebriated. He was taken to a detoxification center. Later, he fell down to some illness. He ended up passing away. Now, even though he had identification on him and even his nephew's number, somehow this was lost, and then he became a John Doe. And through some sort of lottery or whatever, whoever made the decision, his body was sent for dissection. Next, we have the story of Addie Mae Collins. She was one of the 4 girls who died in the Birmingham's 16th Street Baptist Church back in 1963. She was even eulogized by Martin Luther King Jr. She was laid to rest. Then in 1998, her sisters came to the cemetery, found it in disarray, decided they wanted to move the body. When the workers started to do it, they found that there was no casket, there was no body. She had just been moved at some point. Similar to them not finding something there, construction workers that were renovating a 150-year-old structure in the Medical College of Georgia uncovered nearly 10,000 human bones and skulls that shouldn't have been there. And that they were able to tell that 75% of the bones were from African Americans. Back to the example about robbing of graves, basically, it was so common that there was terms for it. People were referred to as night doctors and even resurrectionists. And even though that some of this grave robbing was happening at a time way after slavery had officially been abolished, African Americans really feared dissection after death. In fact, it felt like a form of slavery because it still was a sign of not having control over one's body. In fact, it was written here, it was an extension of slavery into eternity because it represented a profound level of white control over their bodies, illustrating that they were not free even in death.